We're speaking this morning with some of our Media 21 sophomores, and they're going to be sharing with us some thoughts on their learning experiences and some of the content they've created in recent weeks as we have pretty much now wound down our unit on issues in Africa. And we're going to let Ben kick off the conversation for us this morning and share some thoughts.
All right, I'm Ben, and I think this project came easier to me than to others because I've been to Africa. But coming back, it really tied everything that I got to experience together because I didn't really know much about Africa when I went over, but I came back here and I did a bunch of blog posts and a bunch of research and a research paper, and it really opened my eyes to what I was seeing over there and the background behind it. And we did a lot of blog posts about our research and our books that we read. And at first, I wasn't too sure what we were doing. I thought that it was all just going to go to the wayside and we're never going to use it again. But I realized at the end that it all came together in one big website, our portfolio that we put together. And after our blog posts, we did a research paper and a group. And it was kind of cool because we could kind of tell what members of our group were being productive and getting their blog posts done. And you could tell that if they're getting their blog posts done, they're actually doing the reading, they were doing the research, and you knew that you were in a good group if that was happening. So everything kind of just came together, and we did our portfolio project. And then when we did our portfolio, we did our multi-genre extra project things. And that was cool because it really gave you the option to choose out of a list of like 20 different projects of which one you wanted to do. And I chose to make a Facebook page. I wrote extra blog posts, and I did an obituary of that were all about Ishmael Bea, the author of my book A Long Way Gone. And it was really cool because it let me choose pretty much whatever it was that I wanted to write about, and I got to like put in pictures and information about him that otherwise wouldn't have been shown if I hadn't done those projects. So it was a really cool experience, and it probably helped me in the long run to learn a lot about Africa.
Okay, well, you've touched on some really important ideas, I think, this morning. The idea of choice, collaboration, different learning experiences that all kind of speak to each other, and of course, drawing on your own personal experience and also having some of those creative outlets to share all those insights and knowledge that you gain through your learning experiences.
Yes,
So, thank you for sharing that.
no problem.
All right, and now we're going to speak with Casey, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her thoughts on the recent learning experiences.
Hey, I'm Casey. I thought this project was really cool because I read this book called Unbowed. It was a memoir by Wangari Maathai, and she's a feminist activist and environmentalist in Kenya. And with her memoir, we really got to know her really well, and I wanted to learn a lot more about her because she was really interesting to me with all the things she was doing and her aggressiveness and the devotion to what she has for her passion of all of these things with the environment and just women's rights, and I thought it was really cool. So for my portfolio, I focused mainly on her. I did the Facebook page and a time capsule and a character recipe. So I kind of just wanted to explain more about her and get to know her a little bit better, and I thought it was really cool with the Facebook page to kind of bring it all to modern times and try to see how it would be if she was on Facebook, and it was really cool to put all the pictures up. And with the time capsule, I just kind of wanted to show what all made her to be her, also with a character recipe because there's a lot to her, and she's just such an awesome person. I loved like looking her up and finding all this information for the research paper and all. And that's my part that I did on the research paper. I focused mainly on her. So I just thought it was really cool to see everybody's thoughts about it, and they commented on it, see all their thoughts about Wangari.
Well, I think your passion and your interest in her work and her personal character really shine through in your paper, your multi-genre elements in particular. They were very original, and again, as we were discussing a little bit earlier before we began filming, really showed kind of an investment of yourself and wanting to help other people get to know her a little bit better and the key insights that you gain. All right, thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
All right, and now we have our other Ben, and he's going to be telling us a little bit about his learning experiences and thoughts on the last few weeks.
I'm Ben. I like this presentation a lot because it allowed me to be more creative because, our topic was genocide in Rwanda with the book Shake Hands with the Devil by Romeo Dallaire. And, reading about it, he's very graphic with it and very descriptive on how bad it is, but with the multi-genre, you can do a glogster and a video where you get to see pictures of actual things that went on, and it really allows a lot more depth and a lot more understanding of how bad it was over there. You know, like, you can't just write that down and be as descriptive, and I really like that part. And back to what Ben said, you know, the collaboration part, you really realize who's a hard worker and who isn't, who's pulling their weight, and when the other person didn't, you have to pull it for them, or you were going to fail. So that took some getting used to. So.
And I know sometimes that initial experience of teamwork and collaboration and kind of juggling those roles and then figuring out what you can learn from each other, there is that learning curve. But obviously, you know, all of you handled that process extremely well. And I think, to the point you make about being able to represent insights and key learnings through other ways than just traditional text, that maybe something like your video or your glogster kind of brought a different dimension to it. I think that's a very insightful, important point that you emphasize as well. So I appreciate your sharing that. All right, thank you, Ben. And last but definitely not least, we have Bryce, who's going to tell us a little bit about what she did and her thoughts on her learning experiences.
Well, my group read a book called Chandra's Secrets by Alan Stratton. It was about AIDS. And when I was doing my project, I thought about how it had affected me, how I thought about it. So I just wrote down what I thought, which I think is good because unlike a research paper where you just stick to the facts, it's good to write down how it impacted you personally or what you felt about it. You could be creative and show your ideas and maybe even write down how you think you could help to stop it or what you can do about it, which I think is great because it allows you to be creative it allows you to show your personality and how you were affected by it. And I'm not good at speaking.
Well, you know, Bryce, I think what you're saying, though, is very eloquent. This idea that these mediums allowed you to kind of personalize the learning experience, I think, a little bit. And
I don't like being constricted by just impersonal. I'm a very personal writer.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, in looking at your multi-genre elements in particular, that passion and that creativity and your artistic nature definitely shine through. And I thought all your multi-genre elements were very, you know, heartfelt. Was there any particular of your three multi-genre elements that you are maybe most proud of, or that you would want to maybe tell us a little bit more about?
Not particularly, but I just had something on my mind. The book kind of mostly focused on like getting past the shame of AIDS. Like, you shouldn't be ashamed of it. It's everywhere now. It's affecting everyone. So I try to focus on that, like how you shouldn't be ashamed. You should just face it head on, and you can still live a good life with AIDS.
Okay, and I know we talked a lot about, you know, the shame and the stigma, not just in your lit circle groups, but when we did our Skype visit with the author Alan Stratton, and of course in our conversations with him and in your own research and reading, you know, you definitely saw how paralyzing that is. And I think that's an important lesson that you've drawn from that whether, you know, it's AIDS or really anything in life, you know, that taking a stand and, you know, being brave, you know, those are very powerful insights, I think, that aren't always necessarily in a curriculum or on a standardized test, but that you drew and hopefully, you know, will stay with you as you move forward. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you being sharing your time with us and being open and constructive and sharing your opinions on the learning experiences. We will look forward to working with all of you next semester. And again, thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom.